Welcome to HornAfrica Insight, your source for East Africa news and analysis. Today, we bring you 5 major stories. Egypt warns Ethiopia over sudden GERD releases. G20 adopts a declaration without U.S. support. Ethiopia receives 12 historic artifacts from Germany. Kenya clarifies Uganda's sea access remarks. And an opinion piece argues Eritrea's regime is blocking lasting peace in the Horn. Here are the facts. #Horn. Africa Insight. Egypt issued a strong warning, accusing Ethiopia of operating the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam in an uncoordinated and undisciplined way. Cairo says sudden water releases from the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam have caused sharp fluctuations in Blue Nile flows downstream. According to Egypt's Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation, Ethiopia released 485 million cubic meters on September 10th and 780 million on September 27th. Satellite data showed the GERD reservoir level dropped by about 1 meter, roughly 2 billion cubic meters, within a short period. Egypt says international practice requires gradual lowering of the reservoir from 640 meters to around 625 meters by the end of the hydrological year. Instead, Ethiopia reportedly opened and closed the emergency spillway several times without prior coordination. Daily flows dropped to 139 million cubic meters at one point, then rose above 300 million. From November 1st to 20th, average discharge reached 180 million cubic meters per day, about 80% above the historical average. As a result, Egypt opened the Toshka spillway to protect its water system. The ministry says its Nile Revenue Committee made the decision using real-time monitoring and satellite data. Cairo insists its water security remains stable thanks to the High Aswan Dam, but warns that unpredictable management of a major international river poses long-term risks for Egypt and Sudan. The G20 summit in Johannesburg ended with leaders adopting a final declaration. Even though the United States boycotted the meeting and Argentina withdrew from the negotiations, the declaration highlights the urgency of climate change, calls for increased renewable energy, and acknowledges the heavy debt burdens faced by developing countries. These are points the Trump administration has opposed in previous summits. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said there was overwhelming consensus and that the text could not be renegotiated. The White House accused South Africa of weaponizing its G20 presidency and refusing a proper ceremonial handover to the U.S., which assumes leadership next year. Argentina objected to language calling for a just, comprehensive, and lasting peace in the occupied Palestinian territory. Despite disagreements, several leaders, including Japan, China, and the European Union, urged unity. South Africa stressed that this was the first African-hosted G20 and said it would not back down. The declaration was finalized without U.S. input after President Trump skipped the summit. Pretoria said the final text was adopted through sufficient consensus. Ethiopia has welcomed home 12 historic artifacts kept in Germany for more than a century. The items include 2 ceremonial crowns, shields, a sword, traditional headgear, and paintings. They were handed over at a ceremony at Ras Makonnen Hall, Addis Ababa University. Most of the artifacts were originally gifts from Regent Tafari Makonnen, later Emperor Haile Selassie, to German envoy Franz Weiss in the 1920s. The envoy's grandson, Professor Ramon Weiss, personally returned the items, saying his family believed they belonged in Ethiopia. Tourism Minister Selamawit Kassa called the return a landmark moment for Ethiopian heritage and education. The artifacts will be kept and displayed at the Institute of Ethiopian Studies. Germany's Chargé d'Affaires, Ferdinand von Weye, described the handover as a gesture of goodwill and respect. The Goethe Institute will also display 51 rare photographs taken by the Weiss family in the 1920s. The return coincides with the 125th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Ethiopia and Germany and reflects growing global support for repatriating African cultural heritage. Kenyan President William Ruto has dismissed reports suggesting tension or potential conflict with Uganda over access to the Indian Ocean. Speaking at a factory groundbreaking in Tororo, Uganda, Ruto said some media outlets misrepresented President Yoweri Museveni's recent comments. Museveni had said that denying landlocked countries access to the ocean is madness and that it could cause future conflict. He used an apartment block analogy, saying the sea is a shared resource for all. Ruto said the remarks were misunderstood. He emphasized that Kenya and Uganda are brothers and sisters and remain fully committed to cooperation. He confirmed that Uganda continues to have guaranteed sea access through Kenya, supported by ongoing pipeline, road, and rail projects.
I know people in the journalist space, and it is good I speak about it here, tried to create an impression that Uganda had said something to the effect that they need to access the sea by all means. Let me assure the naysayers that Uganda and Kenya, the sea through Kenya, and that is why we are not only extending the pipeline, we are also extending the road, and we are also extending the railway, because we believe that this region needs to move as one.
Ruto added that East African community members should focus on trade, jobs, and integration, not confrontation. A new opinion piece published this weekend on Horn Review argues that Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki's long-standing political doctrine, often described as the Isaias Doctrine, is a major obstacle to long-term peace in the Horn of Africa. The doctrine is based on the belief that Eritrea's security depends on Ethiopia remaining weak and divided. Ethiopian Foreign Minister Gideon Timotheos said on November 13th that Eritrea's leadership has built its security on Ethiopia's insecurity. The piece notes that Eritrea's system relies on indefinite national service, tight media control, and support for proxy groups across the region. It says Asmara has played a destabilizing role for years, from backing insurgent groups to intervening in conflicts and resisting regional cooperation. After the 2018 peace agreement, the article argues, Eritrea capitalized on Ethiopia's internal conflicts, joined the Tigray War, and later supported dissident factions once the Pretoria Agreement was signed. The authors say lasting peace in the Horn requires structural political change in Eritrea, stronger AU and UN engagement, and coordinated pressure from the international community. From diplomatic pushes to rising Nile levels and regional tensions, the Horn of Africa continues to shift. Like, share, and subscribe for more updates. Follow us on X. This is HornAfrica Insight.